Howdy readers, I'm Jason. This is Chapter and Verse, and this is my long promised announcement video for the read-along that I plan to host of Oscar and Lucinda by Peter Carey. We are going to be reading this in the month of October to coincide with the long-standing, much-beloved BookTube event, Victober. Now, Oscar and Lucinda was published in the late 1980s. It's obviously not a Victorian novel, but it is what is called or known as a Neo-Victorian novel. I've made a video on Neo-Victorian novels in the past. I will link that down below. So why Oscar and Lucinda? All right, so I have read this book. This is the old movie tie-in edition. I have read this book 7 times, but I haven't read it in 14 years. And I decided to do a read-along of it because it doesn't get read and discussed very much on BookTube. And when it does, the response from BookTubers tends to be either hatred or a kind of lukewarm indifference, maybe. Somewhere kind of on that spectrum anyway. If there's like involved in there, it's a very tepid affection for the book that people have. So this is a book that I really, really love. I wrote my master's thesis on it. And I thought I would host a read-along as a way of just kind of introducing a lot of new people to it. And maybe some of those people will love it as much as I do. So we'll see. Let me know in the comments below if you plan to participate. The schedule is going to be, and again, I'll put this down in the description box. So we are going to read chapters 1 through 32 for October 9th, okay? And I will put out a video on October 9th on chapters 1 through 32. We'll read chapters 33 through 57 for October 16th, chapters 58 through 79 for October 23rd, and chapters 80 through 111 for October 30th. And again, I will post videos discussing the relevant chapters on each of those Saturdays. And I invite those of you who have channels to make videos for those Saturdays as well. I think that would be really, really fabulous. After finishing the novel, we will watch the aforementioned film, right? The film came out in 1997, I believe. It's directed by Gillian Armstrong, and it stars Ralph Fiennes and Cate Blanchett, and it was famously Cate Blanchett's first performance, first movie role. So once we finish the novel, we will watch the film. And then if one or two of you down in the comments below would like to kind of volunteer yourselves to do a page and screen Zoom discussion with me after we watch the film, where we can compare and contrast the novel and the adaptation, that would be great. So let me know in the comments below if you would like to take part in that. Last thing, so when you're tracking down your copy of Oscar and Lucinda, whether it's from a library or a bookstore, used bookstore, new bookstore, what have you, do not get the first edition American hardcover, okay? And the reason why is, and I will try to find an article, sometimes the article is really difficult to find, but I'll try to find an article about it and link it down below. So it was originally published, obviously in Australia and England, and then when it was published in the States, something got really fucked up with the typography, and the editions came out with just egregious typos, okay? And they fixed many of them, most of them, in fact, in the trade paperback, the vintage trade paperback. But the vintage trade paperback still has, and I know this because one of the 7 times I read the book, probably the 7th time I read the book, I actually noted down all of the typos in the book because I wanted to get a hold of vintage and let them know for future editions, like, okay, here's where all the problems are that you need to correct, blah, blah, blah. There are still roughly 48 typos in the American trade paperback of this. And in the past, I had a British trade paperback of it, and so I would actually compare, when I would find a typo in the American edition, I would compare it compare it to the text in the British edition just to make sure that it wasn't intended to be that way, and so that's kind of how I did it. But so while there are about 4 dozen typos in the American trade paperback, in that American hardcover first edition, there are more, and really just wild, like strings of letters just appearing. I tried to find an example of it in the hardcover that I have, but I couldn't. So avoid this copy, okay? And we have this. This was given to us as a gift by friends. It's signed by Peter Carey. But yeah, any other copy should do. Just be aware that there are going to be some typos because of in the American editions because of what happened when the book was first printed. But that's it. Again, let me know down below if you plan to join me in this read along, and yeah, and let me know if you would like to take part in the page and screen discussion, Zoom discussion, which will happen probably sometime in early to mid-November. But anyhow, I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, there were years where I read the book 3 times in 1 year, and I haven't read it in 14 years. So I'm curious to see how I feel about it now that I'm, a decade and a half older than I was when I read it last. So there it is, Oscar and Lucinda, a Victober read-along for the month of October. I will see you guys again very soon. Adios.